You see, my friend, smoking was never your real problem. The nicotine, that's just chemistry. The real battle is emotional. It's the moment when you feel trapped, anxious, lonely, and your brain whispers, just one puff will make it better. That's not addiction. That's avoidance. You're not chasing smoke. You're running from something deeper. But today we're going to break that illusion. Today, you'll see what you've been really addicted to and how to take your power back once and for all. Listen to me closely, because this right here is the truth that most people never face. You think that cigarette in your hand is giving you peace. You think it's helping you relax, helping you breathe, helping you take the edge off. But that's the illusion. That's the trap. Because that cigarette isn't giving you comfort. It's borrowing it from your future. It's taking something from you that you don't even realize until it's gone. Your energy, your focus, your power. That first puff, it feels like calm. It feels like control. But what it really is chemical relief from a discomfort that the cigarette itself created in the first place. It's like drinking salt water when you're thirsty. It gives you the feeling of relief, but it's actually drying you out from the inside. You're not calming your mind. You're just silencing your body's cry for something real. You see, the mind plays tricks on you. It tells you, you need this, just one puff, and everything will feel better. And for a moment, it does. The world slows down. The noise fades. You feel like you can breathe again. But here's the painful truth. That feeling isn't peace. It's sedation. You're not solving the problem. You're only muting it. You're pressing pause on the pain, not healing it. Think about the first time you ever smoked. You didn't do it because your body needed it. You did it because your Eros mind was searching for something. A break, a distraction, a way to fit in, a way to feel a little less alone. And over time, that false comfort became a habit, and that habit became an identity. You started believing that you need it to cope, that you can't function without it. But that's the biggest lie of all, because it's not the cigarette that gives you comfort, it's the momentary escape from your own thoughts that you've attached to it. When you smoke, what are you really doing? You're taking a deep breath, something your body naturally does to calm down. But you've attached it to the act of smoking. So now, every time you need relief, your brain tells you, grab a cigarette. But the truth is, it was never the cigarette that relaxed you. It was the breath. It was the pause. It was the moment you gave yourself permission to stop, even if just for a few seconds. You could have gotten that same peace by closing your eyes, breathing deeply, and letting yourself feel the moment. But instead, you gave that power away to something outside of you. The illusion of comfort is powerful because it plays on the same loop of pain and pleasure. You feel anxious, so you smoke. Then you feel relief. But soon after, guilt creeps in, your body feels heavy, your lungs hurt, your energy drops. So what do? You smoke again to chase that same relief. It's a cycle, not of comfort, but of control. And guess who's holding that control? Not you. The cigarette, your body starts to depend on it, not because it's weak, but because it's confused. It's been tricked into believing that the thing hurting it is also the thing helping it. That's the most dangerous illusion of all, when the poison disguises itself as medicine. And society makes it even harder. Every movie, every stress break, every social moment, you've been conditioned to associate smoking with calm, connection, and relief. But what it's really doing is taking your moments of vulnerability, your stress, your loneliness, your exhaustion, and turning them into opportunities for addiction. It's like selling you your own peace and then charging you every time you want it back. Here's what no one tells you: that moment of calm you feel after lighting up isn't the cigarette relaxing you. It's just easing the tension that nicotine withdrawal created in your body. In other words, it's fixing a problem it caused. It's like stabbing yourself just so you can feel the relief of stopping the pain. Once you understand that, the illusion starts to break. You start to see smoking for what it really is, a temporary distraction that demands permanent consequences. It numbs your senses, clouds your thinking, and makes you believe you're in control when in reality, it's the cigarette that's controlling you. Every puff whispers, "You need me," and every puff takes you one step further from realizing that you never did. But here's the beautiful truth. That comfort you're chasing is already inside you. You don't need to inhale smoke to find peace. You can find it in your breath, in movement, in stillness, in speaking your truth, in facing what you're trying to escape. Because comfort that comes from within, that's the kind that lasts. That's the kind that doesn't need refueling every hour. That's real freedom. You've got to understand the cigarette doesn't remove your stress. It only delays it. It doesn't calm your nerves. It numbs them. It doesn't help you breathe. It slowly takes your breath away. The only thing it truly gives you is a reason to avoid dealing with what's really going on inside. And that's why people call it comfort. Because it's easier to reach for a cigarette than to reach into your pain. It's easier to inhale smoke than to exhale truth. But deep down, you know the difference between peace and paralysis. Real peace doesn't come from chemicals. It comes from clarity. It comes from facing your emotions instead of fleeing them. The cigarette tricks you into thinking it's helping you cope. But what it's really doing is stopping you from learning how to. Every time you light up, I want you to ask yourself one question: what am I really craving right now? Is it the smoke or the silence that comes with it? Is it the nicotine or the moment of pause it gives me? Because once you start separating those two, you'll see that you never needed the cigarette. You needed the stillness. You needed yourself. The illusion of comfort will keep you trapped as long as you believe that peace lives inside that smoke. But the moment you realize that you are the source of your own calm, that's when the illusion shatters. And what's left isn't fear, it's freedom. Every craving has a story. Every time you feel that pull to smoke, it's not random, it's emotional. It's tied to something deeper that's happening inside you. Maybe it's stress from work, maybe it's loneliness, maybe it's anger that you don't know how to release, or maybe it's that quiet emptiness that creeps in when you're alone with your thoughts. Whatever it is, that cigarette becomes your translator, the thing that speaks for the emotions you don't want to feel. It becomes your escape route from discomfort, your shortcut out of pain. You've trained yourself to believe that when you light up, the feeling goes away. But it doesn't. It just hides for a while, waiting for the next craving to bring it back to life. Think about the times you crave a cigarette the most. It's not when you're happy or at peace. It's when something feels off, when your mind is racing, when the world feels too heavy, when someone says something that stings and you don't know how to respond. That's when the craving hits hardest, because it's not about nicotine, it's about a numbing. It's your mind saying, I don't want to feel this right now. Give me something to distract me. And smoking becomes that something. It becomes your pause button. But here's the truth. It's not solving the problem. It's postponing it. Every craving is a messenger. It's your body's way of saying, hey, something's not right inside. Maybe it's tension. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's boredom. But instead of listening, instead of asking, what am I really feeling? You silence the message with smoke. You cover it up. And the more you do that, the louder those emotions get. Not on the outside, but inside. They build up layer by layer until they start to shape your patterns, your moods, your life. And now, what started as an occasional habit becomes an emotional dependency. Not on nicotine, but on escape. When you reach for a cigarette during stress, you're not trying to smoke. You're trying to soothe. You're trying to regulate something within you that feels out of control. It's your brain's way of self-medicating. The smoke becomes your therapist, your comforter, your temporary sense of control. But it's a false control, Because the moment the smoke fades, the emotion you were avoiding comes rushing back, stronger, sharper, louder. And now you feel two things: the original emotion and the guilt of giving in again. That's how the emotional loop of addiction keeps spinning. You're not addicted to the cigarette. You're addicted to avoiding what it represents. You have to start seeing the craving not as an enemy, but as a signal. Each craving is pointing you towards something you've been unwilling to face. Maybe it's anxiety that you've carried for years. Maybe it's the pressure to be perfect. Maybe it's loneliness buried under a smile you wear every day. These emotions don't disappear because you ignore them. They just change form. And smoking is one of those forms. It's the body's way of saying, I can't handle this feeling. Let's cover it. But feelings don't dissolve through avoidance. They dissolve through awareness. Imagine for a moment that every time you wanted to smoke, you stopped and asked yourself, what am I really feeling right now? At first, it might feel uncomfortable. Maybe the answer comes slowly. Maybe it doesn't come at all. But over time, you start to see a pattern. You'll notice that you crave it when you're anxious, or when you're bored, or when you feel unseen. You'll start realizing that smoking isn't random, it's your emotional routine. And once you see that pattern clearly, the cigarette loses some of its power. Because now you're not reacting automatically. You're responding consciously. Most people think quitting smoking is about willpower. But it's not. It's about emotional awareness. You can't fight something you don't understand. When you understand your triggers, not just when they happen, but why they happen, you take back your control. Because the truth is, you don't crave nicotine as much as you crave relief. You crave the feeling of being okay. And the cigarette has tricked you into believing that it's the only way to get there. Let's be honest. We live in a world that doesn't teach us how to feel. It teaches us how to avoid. We scroll through screens. We stay busy. We eat. We drink. We smoke. We've been trained to distract ourselves from discomfort instead of understanding it. But emotions are not enemies. They are messages. They are information. When you suppress them with smoke, you're silencing your own truth. You're disconnecting from the very signal that could lead you to peace. You can't heal what you keep hiding from. The moment you start facing your emotional triggers head on, something shifts inside you. The cigarette no longer feels like comfort. It starts to feel like avoidance. And avoidance, once you recognize it, becomes hard to keep choosing. You begin to see that every puff is just another attempt to escape a feeling that's already asking to be seen. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's fear. Maybe it's exhaustion. But whatever it is, you can face it. You've faced harder things before. When you replace reaction with reflection, you break the automatic pattern. You start to understand that the emotion itself is not the problem. Your relationship with it is. When you learn to sit with discomfort instead of running from it, it starts to lose its power. You start to find strength in stillness. You start to realize that you don't need to light up to calm down. You can breathe through it. You can walk through it. You can feel it and survive it. Every emotional trigger that once made you reach for a cigarette can become a doorway to growth. Stress can become a teacher in patience. Anger can become an invitation to set boundaries. Loneliness can become a reminder to reconnect, not with smoke, but with people, with purpose, with yourself. Every craving can become an opportunity to look inward and ask, what is this really about? Because it's never just about the cigarette. It's about what you're trying not to feel. And here's something powerful. Once you begin to face your emotions directly, the craving starts to weaken. Not because nicotine disappears from your body, but because the emotional dependency loses its grip. You're no longer running from your feelings. You're walking through them. And in doing so, you realize that what you thought was your weakness, those emotions, those moments of craving, are actually your greatest teachers. They show you exactly where healing needs to happen So the next time that familiar urge rises up inside you, don't fight it blindly. Don't shame yourself for it. Just pause, breathe, listen. There's something your heart is trying to tell you through that craving. And if you listen long enough, you'll start to hear it. The cigarette isn't calling you, your truth is. Your body is not your enemy. It was never the problem. It's not weak, it's not broken, and it's not addicted beyond repair. It's conditioned. That's the word most people miss. Conditioned. Trained, programmed, taught over time to expect relief from something that never truly gave it. Your body doesn't crave cigarettes because it wants to destroy itself. It craves them because it has been taught that this is how you survive moments of discomfort. It's doing exactly what it thinks it's supposed to do. It's following orders you've repeated for years. Every cell in your body is intelligent. Every breath, every heartbeat, every signal your brain sends. It's all designed to protect you, to keep you safe. When you first started smoking, your body didn't want it. It coughed, it resisted, it told you, this doesn't belong here. But your mind overrode that instinct. You said, it's fine. It helps me relax. It helps me fit in. It makes me feel good. And your body listened. Over time, it adapted. It learned. It said, okay, if this is what you need to feel safe, then I'll adjust. And slowly it rewired itself to expect that smoke, that rush of nicotine, that temporary feeling of relief. The same body that once tried to protect you became trained to repeat a pattern of self-destruction. Not out of weakness, but out of loyalty. Think about that for a second. Your body isn't betraying you. It's obeying you. It's following the script you've given it. And that's why you can change it. Because what's been learned can be unlearned. What's been programmed can be rewritten. The craving that feels so overpowering right now is nothing more than a signal your body has been conditioned to send. It's saying, something feels off. This is what we do to feel better. It's not a demand. It's a request. And you have the power to teach it a new way to find relief. The addiction isn't in your DNA. It's in your repetition. Every time you reached for a cigarette to handle stress, your brain made a note. It said, when I feel anxious, this brings calm. Every time you smoked after a meal, it said, when I'm full, this completes the moment. Every time you used it to escape sadness, it said, when I'm hurting, this makes it stop. Over time, your body started to associate nicotine with safety. The chemical reaction became tied to emotional comfort. But it's a lie that your system has been rehearsing for years, a lie that can only survive as long as you keep feeding it. You see, the body is incredibly adaptable. It's always searching for balance, what scientists call homeostasis. When nicotine enters your body, it tricks that balance. It raises dopamine levels, giving you that temporary high, that sense of peace. But then it drops lower than before, so your brain sends out a new craving to bring it back up again. That's not addiction in the emotional sense, that's adaptation. Your body isn't asking for nicotine because it loves it. It's asking because it's trying to correct the imbalance nicotine itself created. It's trying to get back to normal, and the only path it knows is the one you've shown it. The good news is that this same mechanism can be reversed. Just as your brain and body learn to rely on nicotine for relief, they can learn new ways to regulate themselves naturally, powerfully, permanently. The cravings you feel now are simply the echoes of old programming. They are not proof of weakness. They are proof that your body is still working, still fighting for balance. When you start giving it real tools, clean air, hydration, exercise, deep breathing, rest, it starts to remember what true balance feels like. And once it does, it stops asking for substitutes. People often say, I want to quit, but my body won't let me. But that's not true. Your body doesn't want the poison. It wants this pattern. It wants familiarity, because the mind finds safety in what it knows, even if it's harmful. The first few days without smoking, your body feels confused. It says, wait, something's missing. It's not the nicotine it's missing. It's the as a ritual. the motion, the pause, the breath, that moment of routine comfort that it was trained to associate with peace. But when you replace that moment with something new, deep breathing, stretching, meditation, water, a walk, your body begins to recognize this is what relief feels like. Slowly, the programming starts to change. And that's the secret most people never understand. You don't fight your body to quit smoking. You retrain it. You teach it how to find calm in healthier ways. The craving that once terrified you becomes a signal to breathe deeper, to move, to ground yourself. The tension that once made you light up becomes an invitation to listen, to connect, to release. Over time, the body stops associating relief with cigarettes and starts associating it with life, with oxygen, movement, and clarity. That's not a battle. That's a transformation. Your body is always on your side. Even now, as you read this, it's healing, repairing, regenerating, replacing cells that have been damaged. The moment you stop feeding it smoke, it starts cleansing itself. The lungs begin to clear, the blood starts to carry more oxygen, the taste buds sharpen, the energy returns. Within days, the body begins to remember what freedom feels like. Within weeks, it starts craving life again, not nicotine, not escape, but energy, clarity, air. It remembers what it was made for. You've got to stop seeing your body as a prison and start seeing it as a partner. It's not fighting against you, it's fighting for you. It's trying to adapt to the environment you create. When you give it poison, it adapts to survive. When you give it oxygen, movement, and truth, it adapts to thrive. And that's the miracle of the human body. It never holds grudges. The moment you give it a new command, it listens. It doesn't judge your past. It responds to your present. It's waiting for you to lead it again, to teach it what peace really means, without smoke, without fear, without illusion. When you've spent years using cigarettes as your escape, the idea of facing your emotions head on can feel terrifying. Because smoking isn't really about smoke, it's about silence. It's about suppressing what's screaming inside of you. Every puff you take is a way of saying, I don't want to deal with this right now. But here's the truth. Those feelings don't go away just because you bury them. They stay inside, waiting, building pressure. And the only way to be free is to stop escaping and start expressing. Because the opposite of escape isn't pain, it's release. You've been told to stay strong, to keep it together, to not show weakness. So when anger rises, you swallow it. When sadness shows up, you distract yourself. When stress builds, you light up. It becomes your language of suppression. But the body keeps score. Every unspoken word, every repressed feeling, every moment you pretended to be okay, your body remembers. It finds its outlet through cravings, through tension, through restlessness. That's why smoking feels like relief, not because it's solving your problems, but because it gives you a temporary vent for everything you've been holding back. When you replace escape with expression, you begin to transform that energy. The same emotions that used to make you reach for a cigarette can become fuel for something real. Anger can be released through movement, running, hitting a punching bag, even shouting into a pillow if you have to. Sadness can flow through tears, through writing, through music. Anxiety can soften through deep breathing, through grounding yourself in the present. Every emotion wants to move. That's why it's called gay motion, energy in motion. The danger isn't in feeling it. The danger is in trapping it. Expression is not weakness. It's strength disguised as honesty. It takes courage to face what you feel instead of numbing it. But when you allow yourself to feel, something powerful happens. The craving starts to lose its hold. Because now you're addressing the root, not the symptom. You're no longer running from the storm. You're standing in it, letting it pass. You realize that you don't need a cigarette to calm down. You just need permission to be real with yourself. When that craving hits, pause for a moment. Don't rush to suppress it. Ask yourself, what's really happening inside me right now? Maybe you're stressed. Maybe you're lonely. Maybe you just feel empty. Whatever it is, Name it. Say it out loud if you have to. I'm anxious. I'm tired. I'm frustrated. That's expression. You're acknowledging the truth instead of hiding from it. The moment you do that, the emotional charge behind the craving begins to weaken because now it's being seen. Awareness and expression work hand in hand. One shines the light, the other releases the energy. Find healthy outlets for that energy. Move your body, stretch, walk outside, write down what you feel. Call someone who understands. Create something. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's ever yours. The cigarette gave you a false way to release emotion, but your body was designed with real ones. The more you use them, the more natural they become. Over time, the urge to smoke begins to transform into an urge to move, to breathe, to create. You start craving a love life instead of smoke. When you start expressing, you'll also notice something deeper. The emotions you once thought would destroy you are actually manageable. They rise, they peak, they fade, just like waves. And the more you allow them to move through you, the more resilient you become. You stop fearing your feelings. You stop trying to silence them with smoke. You realize that emotions are not enemies, they're signals. They're messages guiding you toward what needs healing, what needs attention, what needs release. The truth is, your emotions were never the problem. The avoidance was. Every cigarette you smoked was a message that said, I can't handle this right now. But you can. You always could. You just forgot how to trust yourself. Expression is that trust coming back. It's you saying, I don't need to escape anymore. I can feel this. I can handle this. I can let this move through me. And when you start living like that, every emotion becomes a doorway, not to addiction, but to understanding. Stop saying, I'm a smoker trying to quit. Those words might sound harmless, but they carry weight. They define you. Every time you say them, you reinforce the identity you're trying to leave behind. You're not a smoker trying to quit. You're a free person breaking an old pattern. There's a massive difference between those two identities. One keeps you chained to your past, the other pulls you into your future. Because the truth is, you don't quit smoking. You outgrow it. You become someone who no longer needs it, who no longer identifies with the person who did. Identity is powerful. It shapes your beliefs, your actions, your habits, everything. When you believe you are a smoker, your brain will do everything it can to stay consistent with that belief. That's how the mind works. It always wants to prove itself right. So if you call yourself a smoker, even one trying to quit, your subconscious keeps searching for reasons to smoke, because that's who you believe you are. But when you change the story, when you start saying, I'm a healthy person choosing freedom, your actions begin to align with that new identity. Your thoughts, your cravings, your behaviors, they all start to shift. It's not about pretending or forcing positivity. It's about rewiring how you see yourself. Most people fail to quit because they focus only on behavior, the smoking itself, without changing the belief behind it. They stop smoking, but they still think like a smoker. They miss the ritual, the sense of belonging, the comfort, and eventually they go back because their identity didn't change. But once your identity shifts, your behavior follows naturally. You no longer have to fight it. It just doesn't fit who you are anymore. Think about it. When a person stops being a student and becomes a teacher, they don't constantly remind themselves, I'm a student trying not to act like one. No, they step into the new role. They carry themselves differently. They think differently. They feel different. The same thing happens here. When you see yourself as a non-smoker, you start making choices that reflect that. You avoid situations that don't serve you. You breathe deeper. You walk with more confidence. You start respecting your body like it deserves. You begin to protect your peace instead of poisoning it. The shift starts with language. Words are powerful programming. When you say, I'm trying to quit, you're leaving room for doubt. You're telling your brain, I might still go back. But when you say, I don't smoke anymore, it's done. It's final. You've closed the door. There's no identity conflict. You've claimed who you are. It's not about pretending you don't crave it. It's about refusing to let those cravings define you. You can acknowledge the feeling without surrendering your identity to it. You can say, I'm feeling a craving, but that's not who I am anymore. That one sentence separates you from the habit that used to own you. You also start to notice how identity shapes your environment. When you believed you were a smoker, everything around you reinforced that the lighter in your pocket, the pack on your table, the friends who smoked with you, the breaks you took outside, it became part of your routine, your social circle, even your sense of self. When you change your identity, those same things stop feeling familiar. They start to feel foreign. That's not loss, that's growth. You're shedding an old layer of yourself that no longer fits. It's important to understand that you're not fighting against the smoker in you. You're evolving beyond them. You can honor that version of yourself without hating it. That version was coping, surviving, doing the best they could with what they knew. But you've grown. You've seen through the illusion. You've learned that you don't need smoke to find peace. You've learned that the real you, the one underneath the habit, is stronger, calmer, and freer. This shift in identity doesn't happen overnight, but it starts the moment you decide that you're done defining yourself by your addiction. It's a quiet but powerful declaration. That was me, but it's not me anymore. Every time you act from that new identity, choosing to breathe instead of smoke, to express instead of suppress, to face instead of flee, you reinforce it. Your brain rewires itself to match your new self-image. You become the kind of person who doesn't need cigarettes to cope, to connect, or to feel alive. You simply become yourself again, unfiltered, unchained, and in control. You've conquered harder things than this. You may not realize it right now, but you've already walked through storms that should have broken you. And yet, you're still standing. That same strength that carried you through pain, loss, heartbreak, disappointment, it's still inside you. It didn't leave you, it just got buried under layers of habit and self-doubt. The power to quit smoking isn't something you need to find. It's something you need to heirs remember. You've always had it. You just stopped believing in it because the addiction made you feel small. Every time you light a cigarette, there's a small voice in your head that says, I shouldn't be doing this. That's not guilt. That's your power talking. That's really the one that knows you're capable of more. Addiction tries to silence that voice to convince you that you're too weak, that you need the smoke to cope, that you can't handle life without it. But that's the lie. The cigarette doesn't give you strength, it hides it. It gives you an illusion of control while slowly taking the real control away. The truth is, the strength you think you get from smoking is actually the strength that's been inside you all along. You just access it through a crutch. You don't need patches, pills, or magic solutions to stop smoking. Those things can help the body, yes, but the real battle is in the mind. Because addiction doesn't live in your lungs, it lives in your thoughts. And the moment you decide, really decide, that you're done, something shifts inside you. You reclaim your authority. You stop asking, can I quit? And start saying, I will. That decision, made from clarity instead of fear, becomes unstoppable. It's not about forcing yourself to change. It's about stepping into the power that was always yours. There's something beautiful that happens when you realize how powerful you really are. You start to see that the same discipline you use to show up for your family, for your job, for your responsibilities, you can use that for yourself. You've already proven that you can handle pressure, that you can survive tough times. Quitting smoking isn't about becoming strong. It's about redirecting the strength you already have. It's about using that same courage you've used to face everything else in life. This time for you. The cigarette has convinced you that you can't cope without it, but that's just conditioning. The first few days without it might feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort isn't weakness. It's power shifting. It's your body remembering how to function on its own, your mind relearning how to face emotion without escape. That's healing. That's growth. That's strength revealing itself in real time. And when the craving comes, when that old voice whispers, "Just one won't hurt," remember the real strength isn't in giving in. It's in staying still, breathing through it, and proving to yourself that you don't need it, because you don't. You never did. If you're hearing this right now, don't just nod your head and move on, or decide, not tomorrow, not next week, heirs now. This is your moment, the line in the sand. The point where you stop letting a stick of smoke control your peace, your focus, your power. You've spent enough time escaping. Now it's time to rise, to face, to feel, to free yourself. Take a deep breath, feel it. That's what real freedom tastes like. Clean, pure, alive. You don't need smoke to breathe. You don't need nicotine to calm down. You don't need an escape to survive. You are stronger than the craving, wiser than the illusion, and more powerful than you've ever been told. So make the promise not to quit smoking, but to reclaim yourself right here, right now. Say it out loud. I am done running. I am done hiding. I am free. Now go prove it. The power is already yours. All you have to do is use it.